Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
And Jolé Gabrielle here from Elevated Planet, and we'd like to welcome you to today's show, where we have Atlantean wisdom and knowledge on the agenda for today. John is going to tell us more about it.
Yes, we've got plenty of that, and we got more of that to follow up with as well, because it was really super interesting going into this. Because the whole reason for doing this is all fulfills part of this, the totality of being, right? Where humanity is heading. And to do that, one of the things that really came up was that we can go back in time to evidence a time when humanity was at its peak of evolution, right? Because it wasn't in this kind of, it wasn't in the last few thousand years, that's for sure. You got to go back, and you got to go back to Atlantis, to Golden Atlantis. So as we started digging under the surface of this, what became really interesting is that there were actually five epochs, five different eras of Atlantis that went back all the way to like 250,000 years BCE, so 252,000 years ago, to bring it up to date. But each of those eras has its own fascination. But the one we're particularly focused on is the, Golden Atlantis. And the reason for that is that it was the high peak of human achievement. So that's really what we want to focus on, because we can dig under the surface of why that was, what happened, why did it degenerate? Why was it terminated? It's really fascinating. So what I've done, we've got this show today, which, talks about the up-to-date stuff is the totality of being, where, this Golden Atlantis from the past. But we've also got another video which will follow it up. Probably, I think it'll be released on Wednesday, which covers all five of the epochs of Atlantis. And it is really fascinating. It'll only be, 20, 25 minutes long in total, the video, but it really covers an awful lot of ground. Now, okay, well, how do we know this stuff? Because obviously there is myth and legend and all this kind of thing. Well, it all depends. So again, I come back to the work of Stuart Wilson and Joanna Prentice, and this particular book is part of the source of this week. Okay, brilliant work. Stuart Wilson is the channel for Alariel. Okay, the angel who was one of the group of 12 that supported the Melchizedek consciousness as their teacher, the Melchizedek teachers wherever they went in the universe. And he is also there, and the group of angels are now also there to support the likes of the crystal children, the rainbow children, the indigos, as they help to raise consciousness on the planet ahead of what we've got coming up, which is a transformation, the shift of the ages and all that. So it's amazing work, and it's great to take a step back and share this with you as a community to kind of talk through it, because I think it really helps to settle it down in our mind. So it's not just a case of like an audio book and that's it, you put it to one side. You've got to dig under the surface of this and see what it means to you. I suppose one of the things to mention up front again, as ever, is that Elevated Planet is a donation-based channel. We do have our PayPal details in the PayPal details directly below in the show notes. So if anybody cares to get us the buy us a coffee kind of value, whatever, we're always grateful and very grateful for those who were able to contribute last week. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And also to like, share, and subscribe if you like the work that we're doing. That means a lot as well, because it helps us to get that our work out there wider, because we don't measure very high on the YouTube algorithm. So unless we're sharing it with like-minded people, because we do acknowledge, as ever, that this is no longer a mainstream message. So, but if you know people who are on the journey, and there will be more and more every single week that goes by, there are more and more people who are starting to awaken from the slumber that we've all been through, for many, many decades. So it's an exciting time to be here on the planet right now. So that's what I wanted to say on that one. And I was going to ask Jolé, what would you care to add?
Oh, I think you summed it up nicely, but it's really, as always, I just want to remind people to just open your mind and get neutral at some of this information. A lot of this, or for many years, information has been hidden to keep us sleeping, to keep sleeping, to keep giants asleep. So now that we have some of this information, we can then begin to remember and wake up and take in that ancient knowledge and wisdom, which is so important for us in order to tap into what we talk about, the oneness, to understand how it operates within us. Because we're so focused oftentimes on problem solving, solving things outside of ourselves, we don't take the time to get to know who we are, which then can unleash some of this power that we possess. So, through this knowledge and wisdom that we're trying to uncover, we need for people to open themselves up, because it is a little bit, is it true? Is it not true? But there are breadcrumbs that are leading us here, that are leading us back to ourselves, which is that ancient wisdom and knowledge. So hold on to your hats and let's get into it.
Let's do that. And I know this is absolutely right. And we always say, whether you see it as truth or deluded nonsense is basically for you to decide, because it's a heart-based thing, right? Don't let the ego mind railroad you into kind of following the old pattern. Keeping an open heart and an open mind with this kind of thing makes a huge difference. And as Greg Braden said before when he was doing his gift of the blessing, if this is not working for you right now, just park it, and then you know that you can bring this information back. If your version of reality starts to fade and you're kind of starting to open your mind to alternatives, these kind of things can come back to the forefront. So it is of its time for everybody. Everybody has their own individuated expression and individuated timings and everything, and that is completely honored. So yeah, but no, I thank you, Jolly. And I was just going to say as well, one of the things I draw a lot of comfort from here is that having explored the work of Dolores Cannon, and we've spent a lot of time covering the work of Sarah Breastman Cosme, who also got this information through hypnotic regression. There are so many synergies and similarities between the two, and that's, to me, that kind of adds to the evidence. Independently researched pieces of work, some of which have been out there for decades, all pointing in the same direction. So, but again, how do you feel about it? That is your sovereign right to make that decision, that's for sure.
Correct.
So what do you reckon, Jolé? We dive in?
Yes.
Right, we're going to dive into Atlantis, but first off, a little bit from Alariel about the totality of being, and then we step into Atlantis. So bear with me a second, we are going to switch screens.
The totality of being.
Alariel, as you transform your being and your consciousness, you will increasingly be living across the total spectrum of human experience. Instead of concentrating upon one level, as you have done by focusing intensively on mental activity during the last few centuries, you will value all the four main levels and live in a balanced way that honors all of these. By balancing the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels, which we have called the PEMS continuum, you can enjoy the full range of human experience and avoid the discomfort, disharmony, and dis-ease that comes from any kind of imbalance. In one way, it can be said that apart from a brief period in Golden Atlantis, you have not really experienced what it is like to be fully, joyfully, and radiantly human. Yes, you have lived in many bodies, but they have staggered on from day to day, overworked, undernourished, and ill, with a whole host of addictions, karmic limitations, and diseases. You may have accepted this as the norm for humanity, but to us it is a travesty of what human life should be and could be. Comment by Stuart. We explore Golden Atlantis in our book, Atlantis and the New Consciousness.
Joanna. Various authors talk about Golden Atlantis lasting for different periods of time. Some say about 10,000 years, and some only 1,500 years. How would you perceive this?
It was always going to be difficult to sustain a civilization at a very high vibrational level.
You could achieve it if you vetted all those coming in to be born and excluded all those of lower vibration, only allowing in the souls with the very highest and purest consciousness. As Atlantis was considered to be a school of spiritual evolution for a wide range of beings, the input was never controlled that rigidly. It was hoped that with the majority of high vibrational people in place, they would inspire the incoming souls to higher achievement than they had managed in their previous lives elsewhere. Sadly, that was not the continuing pattern during any of the 5 main epochs of Atlantean development, and each epoch became more volatile and difficult to sustain. That is why the 1500-year period of time is the correct one, as those conditions were so hard to keep in a stable and enduring balance for long periods of time. Keeping Atlantis going at the Golden Peak level, even for 1500 years, was a major achievement from our point of view. Continued success in sustaining this high vibrational level could only have been achieved with a much tighter control of who was born there, and that was, in our view, wisely considered not to be desirable. Atlantis was never set up as a cozy club for beings of elevated vibration only. It was designed as a school for spiritual evolution in which beings at a number of levels would be able to learn and develop with ones of higher consciousness, leading and inspiring the rest. In that framework, there was always the danger that the primitive ones would fail to understand and value the advanced ones, and move against them using violent methods that the higher ones would not stoop to employ. This happened again and again, but it did not mean that the basic philosophy behind the Atlantean experiment was mistaken or deeply flawed. Each time an Atlantean epoch was set up, human consciousness moved onwards towards the light, and the final flowering of that consciousness during the Golden Atlantis has resonances right up to the present day. Humanity needs all its triumphs if it is to focus on what can be achieved and if it is to be inspired in its journey to the light. When the Intergalactic Council met to consider a 5th phase for the Atlantean experiment, they settled upon a very different structure, with much greater supervision and control. Working through 12 advanced beings, collectively called the Alta, they set up the new Atlantis in 12 regions. Each region was governed by a high priest or priestess, who was one of the Alta with sweeping powers and the backing of an effective administrative structure. Once more, volunteers came in from several galaxies, but this time only water, earth, and plant life were provided. As this meant a more extended period of cooperation was needed, the experiment got off to a better start. Eventually, a golden age of high spiritual and technical excellence emerged, a period that still stands as the high peak of human achievement. Sadly, the period of Golden Atlantis could not be sustained forever. Gradually, selfishness, greed, lust, and overwork crept into Atlantean life and overwhelmed most of the people. The followers of the Wise Ones, who maintained the knowledge that they were children of the light, tried to warn the rest of the people, but they were laughed at and scorned. A twisted society of shallow celebrity, selfish exploitation, and violent criminality emerged, working hand in hand with a very advanced technology that dehumanized people. Animals were overworked and exploited, and then new creatures, half human and half animal, were created through advanced genetic science. These mutants alarmed the angels monitoring Atlantean society more than any other development. An angel has an acute awareness of how physical beings fit into the structure of creation with regard to the soul. Angels know that all animals have a group soul with an angelic being responsible for its oversight. When an animal, through self-sacrifice or continued contact with humans, is able to graduate beyond this group soul, a new human soul is created. This pattern, animals with group souls, humans with individual souls, is an immutable law throughout the angelic world. But now angels were confronted with new creatures that were neither entirely human nor entirely animal. Should these mutants be given human souls or not? A deep level of alarm swept through the angelic host whilst down on Atlantis. Chaos was engulfing the land. The mutants, half animal and half human, were spreading increasingly complex and virulent forms of disease that had never been seen before, and for which even the skilled medical scientists of Atlantis had no answer. Meanwhile, the whole of Atlantean society was already sick for other reasons. The water had become polluted, and health was declining everywhere. Life for many Atlanteans had become a grim process of overwork, exploitation, inadequate rest, and heavy food. In these harsh conditions, alcohol and drug abuse became more and more common. People sleepwalked through their lives and forgot the feeling of love and the meaning of joy. Science and a hard, unforgiving technology dominated life, and creativity and spirituality were squeezed out. As Atlantis went into its final decline, illness, violence, and criminality dominated the society. In addition to these problems, the ever more bold and reckless Atlantean scientists were abusing crystal technology by developing enormous crystals as part of their energy program. Once a crystal reaches a certain size, its power increases dramatically, and the Atlantean scientists had not mastered the techniques for controlling these crystals. Worse still, they were beginning to experiment with a process for drawing power from the molten core of the Earth, a technology so dangerous that, should it be allowed to continue, it would almost certainly have destroyed the whole planet. Given these imminent dangers, the widespread chaos and breakdown of civilized life, and the firm objections from the angelic hosts on the mutant issue, the Intergalactic Council had no alternative. Atlantis had to be terminated, and the great experiment abandoned forever. In 10,000 BCE, the tectonic plates shifted, and the Atlantean landmass fragmented and crumbled down into a vast mass of mud, which would form a maritime hazard for many years to come. The final phase of Atlantis was over, and the golden dream of the highest and most spiritual civilization this world has ever known was now becoming a legend, a distant folk memory in the history of the human race.
So I find this really fascinating because all this Atlantis stuff is something that really, and I love this actually. When it comes down to it, all the explanations, and you'll hear this if you do listen into our video, which is coming out on Wednesday about the 5 epochs of Atlantis. This is where you learn that, this is Earth School in many ways. It's a spiritual experiment, and it's all overseen by the Intergalactic Council. So up there, it is kind of like, you kind of think of like the Truman Show, except it's a Truman Show of 8.2 billion people and so on. It's so complex, right? But this is what we came to be part of at this shift of the ages. And, so fascinating though it is to learn about these things, when you're kind of digging under the surface of what happened with Golden Atlantis, that 5th epoch began at 16,000 BCE, apparently, which is 18,000 years ago. It took 2,000 years of development before they reached the Golden Atlantis stage of the highest point of evolution of humanity, which lasted for 1,500 years. Then there was 2,500 years of fragmentation and devolution until basically the experiment was terminated. So, and not everybody died. We know that because, the likes of the Kalu, which we've heard about a lot in recent months with the work, even to establish the Essene community thousands of years later, they were descendants of Atlantis. The Phoenicians were also said to be descendants of Atlantis. They were typically red-headed, tall, pale skin. They were, advanced in metallurgy, and they were traders. But they had a great deal of knowledge, and that, and it won't be just that. There'll be the basis of other civilizations as well that really came from that era. But it's a really fascinating story. So, and also when they began that 5th epoch, they began with the 12 advanced beings, which were known as the Altar, and they were the high priest and high priestesses, each of them ruling part, one of the 12th part of the whole of Atlantis. Now, I'm very aware, and I've mentioned this before on the show, that Yeshua, in a past incarnation, was one of the high priestesses of the Atlantean Golden Era. So the name went under the name of Anawa, the high priestess. And this is again, some of this is not something that I've read specifically, but just joining the dots. We know that there was a high priestess who brought in the light, technology of light, the cosmic energy of love, as it was referred to within the book as well. And that was done during that time in Atlantis. So this is my suspicion. Anawa, high priestess, to become ultimately Yeshua in another lifetime, was the one who brought in that energy at that high level, but it wasn't yet ready to be anchored into the earth. That basically happened at the time of the crucifixion, as we have covered over various shows, how that happened, why it happened. And again, you can just go back into the channel and check that out. But it's brilliant because having anchored it in through that 150-year planning process that led to the crucifixion, that then gave the opportunity for us now to be going through the shift of the ages. So that sacrifice and work that was done by Yeshua, by the Essenes, by all around them, is now coming to fruition. And so this is where we are now getting that upshift in consciousness again. So I find that really interesting. Now, there's also, what I found this really interesting about, each of the animal groups has a specific angel that is assigned to that group consciousness. So group consciousness rather than individual consciousnesses, they become, individual consciousnesses should they reach the stage of being human. But that angelic being, that caused a problem when again, there's a lot of work on this in Dolores Cannon's work as well, about the messing around with genetics to create half human, half horse, it was just like an abomination, really. But it gives me now a better understanding of what the nature of the problem was, because do you treat that as a human? Do you treat and give it like a human soul? Or do you treat it like an animal? And it's part of a group consciousness, yet it's a one-off, right? Because these creatures were one-offs. So you can see how all this, energy, this degeneration of energy and misuse of all the opportunities they had, did lead to basically what happened there, which was that it terminated in the end. So there you go. But this time around, we're not doing a termination, we're doing an upgrade. We're going up in the frequencies for those who are ready for it. So, yeah, with that said, I'll bring Jolé back in for your thoughts.
I think these epics and these golden ages and all of that really speak to what we can produce and create now. And when we take into consideration that we are a part of the oneness and get neutral, there's so much happening right now in our world that would have us believe that we're moving towards destruction and chaos and all of that. However, it is really an inside job, because when I was coming up, I was taught that whatever is going on outside in the world really is beginning in us. It's just a reflection of what's going on within us. So the work is here. And I think the Atlanteans and the Lemurians knew that. And they talked about how the angels, once the man and island of Dr. Moreau started happening, the angels were like, wait a second, the balance here is starting to shift. So a lot of the similarities now and then, it's happening again. And so in order for us to pivot this, it's really about inner work, getting familiar with your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual sovereignty, taking it in and working with that. All of us are struggling. I don't think anyone here is saying everything around me is blissful, unless they're really opting out and they're off the grid, right? But if you are engaging in this, there are moments where there's going to be challenges and disruptions and struggle, but it takes us coming together. It takes us really embracing one another right now to get through this. And that seems to be the narrative, is egotistical, individualistic. And it's just so important right now that we also come together. So these are some of the things that I'm channeling that are coming through me in regards to what we just heard from Alariel, because it's not enough of us. We're all in these silos, afraid of being gossiped about, afraid of our business being out there, afraid of having to support and help other people and take responsibility. But it's just what we have to do right now, or what we benefit by doing, because other people are enriching themselves in such a way we're starting to suffer as humankind. And that is a part of the oneness as well. That's what we're choosing. So maybe getting out of the deprivation, the lack, and the limitation, and understanding that the golden epic is not just a theory or an hypothesis. It actually exists, but it begins within us.
Yes. Yes. And you know, you think about, we're going into this age of Aquarius, which is the golden era now. This is the golden age that we've got coming up. And obviously, yeah, and one of the things I found quite enlightening about that piece again is just highlighting the fact that we've been out of balance, you know, so we haven't had the balance and the harmony because of that
Right.
PEMS continuum, as you said, you know, the
Yes.
physical,
Yes.
the emotional, the mental and the spiritual, you know, only the mental and the spiritual were ever focused upon. So therefore you've got no balance, right? That is how we get
Yes.
programmed and conditioned. So what we need to do is to seek again that balance and that harmony. And it's a work in progress, right? So, but knowing
Yes.
it is a huge key to actually, because like if you don't have a clue as to what's going on, how can you change, right? You know,
Yes.
you've got to understand the rules of the game. And I think that's what I get excited about over these last few months, really, is better understanding the rules of the game that we're playing, which means that we can play in a meaningful kind of way now and really attract towards ourselves this world of unspeakable beauty, because we
Yeah.
know that it's an inside job, right? As you say,
Exactly.
right?
And that's where the balance and harmony comes in. And a lot of us are just, wow, because we work in these jobs and we're same place, same thing all the time, and like lemmings in the boxes, right? We don't get in our bodies enough to say, how is this? How do I feel? Why am I treating people this way? Like, we're out of our bodies, because being in our bodies is scary,
Mm,
because of all that we have to deal with and take responsibility for. And balance and harmony, it requires sometimes silence. It requires doing nothing, you know?
yeah.
And what I mean by require, like when you do nothing, your mind can relax, and now it can think and it can plan and it can go back in the past and go, I don't want that. I want this. I want to change. It looks at behaviors and patterns, and it's able to adapt. But when we're running so fast, the balance isn't there because we don't have the ability to slow down, looking at those patterns, looking at those experiences in a way that edify us and help us mature. And that's what really brings in harmony and balance, is like the continuum of the PIMS, and constantly kind of purging and looking at it and doing something about it. That's the best way I can say. We can look at it all day, but if we don't take action towards balance and harmony, we stay looping, we will stay
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
So what does
yeah.
that look like? And a lot of the times, like I said, sorry about that, it's balance, it's silence, it's meditation, it may be even artwork, nature. These are things that are becoming counterintuitive to us, especially under fluorescent lights and in front of a computer and sitting at a desk all day.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You know, I do think that it's another thing. I mean, we talked about this before between you and I, saying how so many of the things that were there that were going wrong in Atlantis are going wrong here as well. You know,
Yes,
this
the
idea
similarities.
that the tampering with creation, overwork, exploitation, inadequate rest, heavy food, alcohol and drug abuse, and people are sleepwalking. You know, you can look at society today and say, well, a lot of those apply right now, not to the extremes that were taking place in Atlantis, I would say, But certainly, the overwork, as you were mentioning there, I think part of the reason that makes the challenge as big as it is the fact that we are so overworked and so constantly busy just trying to keep our heads above water. That's by design, right? Because that's part of the challenge is realizing that, it's getting the time to invest in yourself, to slow
Yes.
down when you're working in a world where if you do slow down, you haven't got enough money to pay your rent, right?
Hmm.
That's the challenge, but things are changing. Things are changing, and I think that's really, an important one. But yeah, it's a really good point
We
about
also, I just wanted to just remind us that wherever we're triggered is where we need to work. I've noticed, emotions are very heightened in certain ways. Of course, it's being stoked with social media and news reports and stuff, but our emotions seem to be at an all-time high. Excuse me. So that's a place to work because people are being triggered all over the place. And when you're being triggered, what's happening is you're losing your energy. It's a slow leak. And it just, what it does is it makes it a lot harder to find peace and balance in life when we are running so fast and we are triggered by every little thing that comes our way. Being very petty about little things that, we need to start maybe taking radical responsibility instead of looking to someone else to
yeah.
take over and to, do it for us. So that's something I want to lay on. Like, pay attention to your emotions and the places where you're triggered and you're ready to pop off. That's where the work,
Mm.
needs to be done. And that's where the gold is as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got something I want to share after this next piece, actually, but I'm not going to do it just yet. But it kind of really leans into that particular point, and it's something that you and I have talked about over the last week. But the other thing that made me very excited about that is what we have accepted as the norm is a travesty of what human life should be and could be, right? That makes this exciting. Because if this is the baseline where we are right now, and we've accepted that, the fact is, what we're saying here is that an enormous amount of upside for where we're going. So,
Mhm.
like, okay, we're at this place of psychic slavery, I think it is right now. And we've got something we'll go into next week about that as well. But if we think of it in that way, then we have it all to look forward to. So rather than seeing the world disintegrating around us, we can kind of look at this and think, okay, this is the necessary chaos that creates the change. That's where the energy of change comes from the energy of chaos. And, again, we've said this before, but chaos is a prerequisite for change. So there's an element of that. But in reality, it's also, as you say, stoked up by the news media, by social media, to make things sound far worse than they are, because there's an awful lot of love in the world. There's an awful lot of really positive, kind, compassionate things that are going on in the world. And you really don't have to look too far around your neighborhood to see that for yourself. But nevertheless, we kind of get sold a story that
Right.
it's all falling apart.
Or there's problems that are way beyond being able to be solved,
Yeah.
and that you think it doesn't affect you, but it does, because you're looking at these organizations and these institutions, or at least we're programmed to, right, as being there for us. And if they're not able to do what they're supposed to do, and that rolls downhill, what does that mean for us as individuals? And that's in the subconscious. You're like, no, I don't believe that. But then you go about your day and you take action in a way where you're playing it small, or you're a wallflower, you're in the corner, you're not speaking up. There's inauthenticity there. Why? Because you don't feel like you can receive the support that you need, or that you benefit from.
Yeah.
Your life would benefit. So, like, we got to look at these things and sort of try to pivot. Like, that's my word, to pivot into something else. This perspective does not serve me. Let's get present, understand that, and go, what will serve me? Well, if I
Mm.
think, if I do this, that, and the other, think of it in terms of action, taking an action. Now, we want to sit in the energy of a wish fulfilled and then move into the action. We have to see the action first, though, And oftentimes we get so caught up that next action requires silence, right? It requires sitting down and doing nothing, to allow your mind and your heart to come together to figure out or to solve that issue for you. That internal release, resolving takes time.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And I think this next section actually goes into a lot of these things that we're bringing up here as well, which is about giving away your power to external sources, because it's kind of what we've been conditioned and programmed to do. The new era is where we are taking individual sovereign responsibility. I'm sure of it. So
Yes,
it's
yes.
getting back into our own power
Hallelujah.
and deprogramming. It's almost like the school of unlearning, isn't it? It's having to unlearn everything we've been encouraged to believe in order
Yes.
to establish our power back to where it should be, which is here in the heart. Christ consciousness, unity consciousness, oneness consciousness. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yes, yes. And practicality is there, what does that mean? It means taking action. Like, more than anything, even though we're moving into sovereign, the reason, what does that look like? Underscored is taking that radical responsibility to take action towards what it is you're trying to achieve. I'm at the front of the line, guys. I'm here to tell you I have no choice, and neither do you. So if we're going to do it, let's do it with joy, and let's do it with supporting one another, because right now it's the road is narrowing, if you know what I mean. And so we used to have so many options. Not to say we don't. Oneness is filled with options. But in this place we're at, moving into the age of Aquarius, it does get a little tight. Having a rebirth. So remember that and go easy, but take action. Remember, take responsibility. Front of the line.
Yes, yes. We're in the birth canal at the moment,
Yes, yes.
right? About to head out, but that's a constricting path to burst out into expansion. That is where we are
Yes.
right now. It's exciting.
And it's really hard for people to understand. They will think you're supporting darkness and hate and destruction. But all we are doing is recognizing that it exists. It's a part of the oneness, and we'd like it to be absorbed by the light. So calling it out and talking about it and highlighting it in a way that may be positive could trigger some people. Oh, you're a supporter of this and that. No, we don't support any of that. It's all a part of the oneness. And so us rejecting it, all it does is create more. So what
Mm,
you do is you get neutral, you observe it, you can call it out and say, hey, this is a part of the process. And that's really what we would like for people to understand as well, is that it does kind of require a level of neutrality. So
yeah.
why we work with our emotions is so that we can get neutral, so that when things flow to us, we're ready to receive.
Yes. Yeah, we don't want to be feeding the problem is the thing. So people who get triggered, who go into anger and all the rest of it, and sometimes hate or rage or whatever, or fear, that is feeding the problem. That is not
Yes.
helping. But again, I understand why that happens, because again, we've been programmed and conditioned for a lifetime to do that.
Yeah.
So divine neutrality, as you say, Jolé, is absolutely the right thing to do if you can find your way to do that. So
Yeah.
shall we hit the
Yes.
button? Shall we go? Right. We are now going to move on to the next section, which is again going into this time the totality of being with Alariel. And I love this because again, it sets out the stall for where we're heading and it is joyous. So bear with me. We're going to switch screens.
Alariel, to us, the ideal of human life is one where fear and want do not exist, and every day you rise up singing for the sheer joy of being alive. In our ideal, the human race enjoys a permanent state of peace, never goes to war, and has no security industry of any kind. No one indulges in criminal activity because everyone enjoys high self-esteem and feels valued and loved. The individual lives in harmony with his or her society, and the whole of humanity resonates with the ideals of light and love. That state of being flows out into a changed relationship within the animal kingdom. which no longer reflects human fear, violence, and anger. A gentle vegetarian humanity now lives in peace with the gentle vegetarian animal kingdom. The link between human consciousness and the consciousness of the earth now works to benefit both, because humanity no longer pollutes and despoils the earth mother, but respects and honors her. There are no violent events of weather, no volcanic activity, no floods, and no tidal waves. A peaceful and loving humanity lives in harmony with a peaceful and loving earth. Sounds very different from the experience of the average person nowadays, doesn't it? We are not saying that this ideal will be achieved 5 minutes after the Earth moves through transition. This is the long-term ideal for humanity, but it is an achievable ideal. So why have you failed to come anywhere near this ideal in the past? Well, during the last 2,000 years, you settled for a lopsided development that denies the spiritual value of the physical level. The Essenes were far wiser than this. They balanced physical work in the fields and gardens in the morning with afternoon study and contemplation, and they honored the earthly mother just as much as the heavenly Father. But that, of course, goes to the heart of the problem. The earthly mother seemed far too close to pagan ideas for the early church fathers. In their desperation to avoid any sense of pagan contamination of their faith, the church leaders split the human experience into the mental and spiritual, seen as potentially good, and the physical, seen as potentially bad. This had the effect of distorting the whole way in which you live, and that distortion has thrown up a series of problems within Western culture. The last 2,000 years have provided an object lesson in what happens when human beings ignore the totality of being and try to live in an artificial, restricted, and unnatural way, a way that ignores the human need to function in a state of balance. Human history abounds with examples that underlined the central point. Balance promotes all-around growth and development, whereas imbalance always leads to some kind of problem down the line. Balance also means avoiding the kind of grim, life-denying seriousness that has characterized many Christian groups. They may have been serious about the pursuit of their faith, but all too often they lost sight of joy. You may have got this balance wrong on a number of occasions in your past, but very soon as post-transition humans, you will have a unique chance to get it right. You will be able to put your battle-scarred past behind you and make a new beginning. Part of the process of awakening is to look at everything in a different way. Thus, you will no longer perceive time as rigid and linear, or karma as fixed and immutable. And above all, you will start to see every experience as an opportunity to learn and grow. By working with the soul through channeling, oracle systems, and past life processes, you can expand your ability to respond to subtle, intuitive, and multidimensional signals, and these signals will steadily push back the boundaries and limitations that have been restricting your consciousness. This process is joyful, empowering, even at times exhilarating, and the more you reach out to expand your awareness, the easier and more natural this will seem. When your consciousness expands, your belief system evolves to keep pace. Whilst in the past you thought in terms of rigid divisions and fixed structures, now everything begins to flow together in a continuum of being. Take the concept of past life work, for example. As you pass through the transition where your planet moves out of linear time and into a new form of time, which we might call unified time, you begin to focus much more on the eternal now and much less on the idea of past, present, and future. And gradually, you will come to see your lives not as past lives at all, but simply as lives, frequencies of energy and being that may be rooted in linear time but still flow out to modify and enrich other experiences. And the whole point of having these experiences is to learn from them and move your consciousness forward into new possibilities. The process of opening and expanding your consciousness enables you to see the extent of the gift which these lives bring you. Every life is a potential opportunity to understand the vastness, the variety, the quality of your consciousness. Every life you have ever experienced is part of your own individual and unique tapestry. the pattern of expression that you and you alone could have chosen. Sometimes the pattern is enormously complex with many diversions and dead ends, or many forays into the darker side of human experience. Yet however many times you explore darkness, the inner impulse to the light, to joy, to love, and to the aspirations of the soul will bring you back on track within your chosen arc of spiritual development. You have woven this tapestry of lives in a highly unconscious way for many eons, but now at last you are reaching out towards the one ideal that makes sense, to become the multi-dimensional beings that you really are. When you go through that experience and emerge as fully ascended beings, standing in the light of your own consciousness, you will understand that every step upon the way, every limitation and every suffering was an essential component in the journey towards the expanding consciousness that you will then enjoy. And when you stand victorious on the peak of ascension, you will see that there is no waste, there is no loss, and every step of your journey was a necessary step upon the road to victory.
I do love all that Alariel explains to us there, because it does tell us we have an awful lot to look forward to, and I believe, okay, on the other side of the shift is kind of what he's talking about. But absolutely, we can choose to embody more of these attributes today, right? It is that, as we were talking about before, as within, so without, right? That's one of the fundamental laws of the universe, right? It's one of the 7 Hermetic principles. So I think that when we look at this and consider, light and love and balance and harmony, I think that this is and I've got something I've been working on this last week, and I'll share that with you in a second. But one of the other things that crossed my mind is Rua Bull, and I did an interview with Rua, and that's going to be coming out in the weeks ahead, actually, because she is wonderful. But Rua, she had what was intended to be a past life regression going back years ago. And instead of a regression, it turned into a progression where she went a couple of 100 years in the future, and she was in Jerusalem. And she said that it was the most wonderful place, the most wonderful experience, where people were so loving and kind, and it was just a beautiful frequency. And I believe that was a genuine kind of trip over to the other side of the transition. That is where we're heading. So, again, you come back to this, what we have come to accept as a travesty of what the human experience could and should be. We are going to a place which is so much better. So all the nonsense that's going on around us is just a distraction. When we focus here, we are in charge again. We are not giving our power away. We are claiming it back. And, there's a lot of things to consider there. But this is one of the things that I was talking to this. It's almost like my expanded awareness personal program, because obviously going through these shows week in, week out, I learn so much, and hopefully offer that out to the community. But this is one of the things that I put, because it also comes back to the Lao Tzu thing, which is the master's power is like this, which I've repeated on a number of occasions, and I think is a beautiful piece of work, because this is kind of what it talks to. And my thought is, this is kind of my mantra now. I surrender to what is through non-resistance and non-judgment. I trust in the divine universe to unfold the path that progresses me towards my highest expression of consciousness in this lifetime with grace and with ease. I release all that no longer serves. Joy, love, celebration of life, and playfulness are the cornerstones of my experience, and my gratitude is truly abundant. That is kind of what I've written up, and that is what I'm going through in my mind a lot, because it takes a long time to undo the programming, the decades upon decades of programming that encourages to give your power away. This is claiming your power back, but it's also realizing that we have a team. This is when we talk about the PEMS continuum of physical, emotional, mind, and spirituality. This is all about the fact that we have a team. We are never here alone, right? We've been going through a journey of separation, but we've never really been separate at all. We are all one. How many of us, like all the people who are ever going to watch this video, how many of us are there really? There's one of us, you know? So that is the truth of it. But it's how, I mean, to me, that works for me. And I'm not suggesting that's for anybody else. I'm suggesting that for everybody, you may want to explore it for yourself and decide where you are on your journey and how you want to change your programming, right? By repeating that on a regular basis, as we talk about with this moon alchemy thing that Jolé and I are working on, along with Joy Castleman. That is really all about reaffirming all the time your desires. It's creating your reality and taking responsibility to create that reality. So it's all following the same point, and it is a practice. Everything is a practice. And one of the things that puzzled me on this one, I'm going to lean into Jolé's wisdom on this one, but there's a lot of talk there by Alariel about past life work. About looking into what we've learned in the past lives and all this. But then my thought on this is, well, at this point, I don't know what my past lives were. What lessons I picked up from them? I don't know. So I was wondering, well, how do I access that knowledge? How do I get to know what my past lives were so that I know? Now, I know that I have a team up there who do know this. And actually, this is something that Jolé did today for our WhatsApp group, which I thought was really good. And I thought I'd just quickly read this because it's really quite profound. It talks about the ancient remembering. I remember what my soul has always known. The wisdom of those who came before me lives within me. I carry their strength, their knowing, and everything they learned along the way. I do not have to search outside myself for what has already been placed within me. What was once forgotten, I remember now. Brilliant, Jolé. That was fantastic. Can I bring you back in, please, to give me your thoughts?
Of course. Thank you for that. It's just I see in pictures all the time. And so you talk about past lives and how to deal with them. You start here for those that aren't going to go and hire a past life regressionist or someone to take them and want to do it on their own. When we drive a lot or we travel, right, to do the things that we do. There's wash dishes. Whenever you're into a rote type of energy, meaning you're just doing something repetitive and your mind can relax and think, where do you go? Do you go back to the schoolyard when Bobby hit you upside the head and embarrassed you, you fell down, and now you are refighting with Bobby in your mind and redoing the scenario over where you win? Okay, now we're working with some past life stuff. It starts in this life and it reminds us of what was taking place back then. So some of the issues that trigger you, that you find yourself going back to constantly to redo again, this is got a little string or a root to a past life issue that you may benefit by working on. For instance, procrastination, some of these big ones, abandonment, right? Issues where when you don't get your way, the ego comes forward. These are patterns to take a look at in your life that point directly to what maybe you are having issues with each lifetime. It's time to resolve and dissolve them. John, you said that we're all one, like we're one, but what if it's nothingness, right? It's that one, we are all one, but at the same time, I am nothing, I am no one. Joe Dispenza talks about that because the magic is in the ether or or what you can't grip, what you can't hold on to, right? It's a nebulous sort of thing that we have the power to take in and then work with to create density. And that's what John and I are really working to do, is to be able I guess, shorten the latency. I hope that's right.
Yeah.
Like the positive thoughts of unspeakable beauty that you want to live and the frequency and vibration that takes, immediately moving you into. I know I said before it takes time. That's because of what we have signed up for, the linear, all of that. But time is really not like that. And the more we delve into it in ourselves, we can see time is slowing down, speeding up. I mean, there are certain days that are long and there's other days that are short. Why is that? But to get back to it, to get the latency to shorten, it requires us realizing that there's no boundaries when we're doing our meditations, when we're doing those things that raise our vibration. The boundaries go away and we have access to that energy so that when we come back into our bodies, we have that information or that whatever you want to call it to create. The tools of creation are now within us. So I want to just make it clear that you're like, I'm not one with anybody. I'm me. It's about that etheric energy. You want to dissolve who and what you are and become more than. Like that's the part of the problem about the past. It boxes us in, right?
Mm.
And so part of that Ho'oponopono, Bobby on the playground, like, I love you. You start going back and you start reliving that, drop into Ho'oponopono, and that starts to dissolve into the oneness.
Mhm.
So, all of these concepts are great, but unless you have action steps, it means nothing at the end of the day, right? It really doesn't, or it's going to take 1,000 years to get there. So it's like have some action steps along with the past life regression or the work, internal work. What is the next step? What do I need to do? Maybe it is sit in silence. I don't know. But I just want to lay that on the table. Oftentimes we think, yeah, that works, but you got to get up and you got to get moving.
Yes. Yes, indeed. It's that's very, very true. And is building that practice. And talking of practices, meditation's obviously an important part of this. Do you
Yeah,
think we head towards meditation?
absolutely. Running.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. We'll make it a brief one.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to head over to for Jolé's meditation now. We're going to be led into it by the some words from Alariel that will line things up perfectly for us. So if you give me a second, we will switch screens and we will begin the magic.
Balance promotes all-around growth and development, whereas imbalance always leads to some kind of problem down the line. Balance also means avoiding the kind of grim, life-denying seriousness that has characterized many Christian groups. They may have been serious about the pursuit of their faith, but all too often they lost sight of joy. You may have got this balance wrong on a number of occasions in your past, but very soon as post-transition humans, you will have a unique chance to get it right. You will be able to put your battle-scarred past behind you and make a new beginning. Part of the process of awakening is to look at everything in a different way. Thus, you will no longer perceive time as rigid and linear or karma as fixed and immutable. And above all, you will start to see every experience as an opportunity to learn and grow. By working with the soul through channeling, oracle systems, and past life processes, you can expand your ability to respond to subtle, intuitive, and multidimensional signals, and these signals will steadily push back the boundaries and limitations that have been restricting your consciousness. This process is joyful, empowering, even at times exhilarating, and the more you reach out to expand your awareness, the easier and more natural this will seem. When your consciousness expands, your belief system evolves to keep pace. Whilst in the past you thought in terms of rigid divisions and fixed structures, now everything begins to flow together in a continuum of being.
Take a deep breath in. And on the exhale, relax. Take another deep breath in. And this time, visualize you're breathing in unconditional love and divine wisdom. And you're breathing out into the environment unconditional love and divine wisdom. Breathing it in and breathing it out. And this is going to create an energy and a frequency around you, which calls your astral body back into your physical body, fitting inside of you like a hand fits inside of a glove. So as you take another deep breath in, gently, of divine wisdom and unconditional love, and you exhale the same, your astral body is downloading all of the information and communication that it received while you were sleeping. What an amazing tool to have as a part of your power and your glory and your sovereignty is an astral body that can astral travel and receive information from all over the universe, remote view and see. So give yourself the permission. Say to your astral body, you are permitted to remote view. You are permitted to astral travel. And please bring back all of the positive and powerful information that will grow my unconditional love and divine wisdom. Inhale, and on the exhale, pull your aura layer in to be 1.5 feet around you. Use your breath to bring in peace and wisdom and love. As you ground your energy into Mother Earth with the grounding cord that is 6 inches in diameter, connected to your first chakra and made of unconditional love and divine wisdom, rooted into the core of Mother Earth. So familiar. What makes her up makes you up. There's divine communication happening now at your grounding cord with Mother Earth. That divine wisdom and unconditional love is communicating. The dolphins and the whale energy coming in and solidifying your worthiness to be here. The unconditional love that you are, they feel and they see, and they're singing to you. They're singing joy. They're singing laughter. They're singing peace into your grounding cord as that golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles. Those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles blanket the inside and the outside of your grounding cord. And that dolphin and whale energy swims around your grounding cord, bringing so much beautiful music into this present moment as your higher self stands at the power position, a comfortable distance above your crown, guiding you, leading the ego, making it soft and gentle in a way that creates strong protection to where anything that's not matching your frequency and vibration, you can't even see it. It's not even around you. So see that aura layer just sparkling and bright and shiny, and that grounding cord filled with those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles and that divine wisdom and unconditional love communicating with Mother Earth as that astral body knows it's so happy it has permission to remote view, to astral travel with protection, to be healthy and safe, bringing back that knowledge and wisdom that makes you well as the higher self guides you and sees that golden path. And all of you listens and defaults to the leadership of your higher self and the knowingness that you are worthy and deserving of all of the blessings that divine wisdom and unconditional love bring you. It's amazing. So as you take a deep breath in, you're going to open your feet, hands, and crown chakras, calling in 15% earth energy of a color that resonates with you. As that 85% cosmic gold comes cascading down, raining down on your higher self and into your crown, as a golden moon appears above your higher self. And it is calling all of your energy back. Why? Because it takes the moon and the sun and all of the elements to bring in that balance and that harmony We're so familiar with the light. We reach for it. But there's so much blessings in the dark and in the moon. There's so much power in the cosmos that's within us. So go ahead and call all of your energy back into that moon, all of the sovereignty, all of that childlike wonder and curiosity with the spiritual maturity necessary to command the darkness, to help in the creation of unspeakable beauty, which takes both the sun, the light, and the moon, the light within the darkness. So as you call back all your energy, and as this earth energy and cosmic will run through your body, go ahead and let go of your past. We're going to open our brow like the lens of a camera, put 2 roses 10 feet outside our aura, and we're going to go ahead and get rid of the energy that keeps us imbalanced. What is triggering you? Finances? You know what? It's going to be okay. Your frequency and vibration is raising to match that of abundance, to align with the laws of the universe. So let go of the debt. See that resolve and dissolve itself as you step on that gold road towards abundance and prosperity. Is it your loving relationship? Whatever it may be, it starts with yourself. How are you loving you? Are you getting in your own way? It's okay. Let it go. Flush it down the grounding cord. Let that earth energy and that cosmic gold come in and fill up those spaces and places. Remember, where's the imbalance? Turn it bright red. Where does it lie in your chakras? It's okay. Breathe and let it go. You have the power to choose something differently. Those veils that have been put down by the archons, they are resolving and dissolving themselves. Your sovereignty and worthiness is coming to the surface. Use that to heal yourself. Allow for that divine wisdom and unconditional love to guide you. Your higher self, you've got this. Breathe with the rhythm of your body. Allow for that energy to balance and harmonize within you, and visualize your highest good, knowing that the past has been resolved and dissolved. Your birthright is one of spiritual maturity, integrated with childlike joy, curiosity, supported by the dolphins and the whales and the magic of the ocean. And those emotions that once created the Kraken energy has now moved into so much joy, swirling of the energy and the portals of divine wisdom and unconditional love flowing through you from that oceanic energy of the ancient Atlantean and Lemurian societies that we were once all a part of. We reawaken that energy within us. We let go of debt. We let go of any type of trauma, pain, and suffering. And we allow the golden waters of Mother Earth and divine life force to wash away any of that negativity and raise our frequency and vibration to one of divine wisdom and unconditional love, to where we can receive because we are ready. We are now ready to step into that. We are that. No stepping in. We are that. We embody that. So we relax with acceptance. Clean it out. You're still there. Clean out the center of your head. Those past experiences. What are you holding on to? It's okay. You're here. You're breathing. You have another opportunity. You are one. You are oneness. You are everything and you are nothing. You have access and permission to take that etheric energy and create abundance, create life, create art, create freedom, create value, create peace, all underscored with the divine wisdom and unconditional love. That is balance and harmony. So, in this golden moon that has called all your energy back, you're going to see the Creator pour into it balance and harmony. Pleroma has come in and is pouring balance and harmony into that golden moon as your higher self then pulls that golden moon down through itself and it goes into your crown, breaks into trillions of pieces, mixing in with that earth energy and that cosmic gold life force energy, filling up every one of your cells with that oceanic wisdom and knowledge, the divine wisdom, that unconditional love, that integrity, the joy, the laughter, the expansiveness, worthiness, worthiness. You are worthy of a life of peace. We are worthy of a life of joy. Allow for that dolphin and that whale energy to just fill you up with so much love and joy. Childlike curiosity, spiritual maturity is who and what you are, who and what we are. So now take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, we're going to give those roses outside our aura layer a push, blow them up, turn them into fireworks, positive, creative life force energy for anyone to use. We're going to take another deep breath in. And on the exhale, we're going to send some of that moon energy down our grounding cord, chasing those golden rose shaped scrubbing bubbles into the core of Mother Earth, bringing us into the present moment with the grounding cord that is clean, clear, and filled with gold moon energy. Balancing and harmonizing our circadian rhythms on a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level. We're going to take another deep breath in. And on the exhale, we close our feet, our hands, our brow, and our crown chakra simultaneously, like the lens of a camera. We take another deep breath in. And on the exhale, we allow for all of this divine energy and unconditional love to settle in our body, in our environment. And when we're ready, we can open our eyes.
But yeah, fantastic, Jolé. I love that. You know, one of the things, all this oceanic idea, and obviously Atlantis and everything, I'm just totally by the by, but I kind of realized I've had a number of dreams, like tidal wave dreams, you know, where I've seen it coming in towards me, and I've known that that is the end of, you know, the civilization at that point. I think I've
Uh-huh.
been there. I think I've been there. That's happened. It doesn't happen regularly, but I've had it a few
Mhm.
times. But yeah, but the oceanic energy there, the whales, the dolphins, all that kind of thing, I think is really powerful. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, they just came into the meditation like, I'm not one for that, right? I don't really do all of that. I have a real, routine I follow, but they came into the meditation and it's like, how are you going to do Atlantean and Lemurian energy without us? That was kind of the energy. So that's why,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. No, I love that. I love that. I mean, you know, we did a show not that long ago, didn't we? Which was kind of talking about the whale song and the
yeah.
dolphins and how they have helped to keep things in balance. You know,
Hmm.
behind the scenes, you know, humanity kind of has
Yes.
gone off at a tangent. because we didn't realize what we were doing, and they've helped. So yeah, they are our friends from the stars, that's for sure.
Yes. Beautiful
Right.
creatures.
Very cool. Okay, well, thank you, Jolé. That was wonderful. And thank you to everybody who's been with us today, including Sean the Shaman of
Hi,
Cottage
Sean.
of the Priest. Check out her YouTube channel. It's really wonderful with light language and all sorts of things. But the one thing she did mention about, she asked about the WhatsApp group, because I mentioned that earlier, for this one that was posted today, for instance. So what I said I would do is in the details below, I will, when I get the chance, add the WhatsApp group. It'll probably be tomorrow, but I'll add a link to the WhatsApp group. So anybody who wants to join our WhatsApp group, you'll be able to do so there. And Jolé posts things like this pretty much on a daily basis, wisdom, and whenever we're doing videos or anything we've got going on, we'll always include it in that. And we also share that with Twisted Reality, our friends from last week who did the
Yes.
Saguro and the Lionsgate video, which is always brilliant. So, okay. Well, tomorrow the newsletter goes out with the edited version of this show, and I will get the edited version done as quickly as possible, because I loved doing it because we can add the images, we can remove all those gray bars that come across the screen every time that we go through the change of screens. So it's a lot tidier. So anybody who is passing anything on to others in the future wants to share, that's the best one to share, and it'll be out before too long. So other than that, Jolé?
Like, share, and subscribe, and please pass this on to anyone you think will, benefit from it. And we want to just remind you again that we are a donation-based channel. So please, anything that you give, we'll be very grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, thank you very much, Jolé. And next week, I feel we're going to be back with more Mary Magdalene wisdom, which actually leans into this show today in terms of helping our understanding of where we're going and why we are where we are. So it's really fascinating stuff. So thank you again, Jolé. Thank you to the
Thank you,
community.
John. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and thank you, Jolé, because I know you've been fighting a bit of sickness there as well,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
doing a fantastic job of cutting your way
Thank
through it
you.
all.
Yes, lots
Mm.
going on, but you know what? This has really sustained me. This community and Elevated Planet has created such a wonderful stairway for me to get transition to the next phase, bridge, whatever. So I'm
Yeah,
grateful. Thank you.
yeah, for me too. For me too. It's a learning experience that I am very, very joyful about, and I learn so much every week. So anyway, thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
all, and we will see you soon. Take care.